So Dante, talk to me, right? Like, look, you played it all growing up, right? You're a
Yeah.
multi-sport athlete, right? Talk to me about your upbringing, right? And when I say upbringing, I mean, you know, through your elementary school days, you did it all, right? And you wanted to do it all, and you were good at it all, right? But going into the high school, going into your freshman year, what was your thought process on the sports side? Was it like, hey, man, I'm going to play football and I'm going to be a badass? Or was it, hey, I'm going to try to play it all and be the best that I could? Like, when did you know that football maybe was your ticket? Or were you going into high school being like, man, I'm just going to play it all and test the waters?
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I grew up playing football and it was like in my family. So it would be like uncalled for me to not play football. So it would have been like now I'm a trader in Downmar who's not playing football. What are we doing? Because my whole family went through the Eastern Shore, was playing ball. But my biggest love was lacrosse, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't really know I was going to play college ball until about my junior year when I got an offer. So
Really?
going into freshman year, it was just like I played all these sports. I played basketball. I played basketball, played football, and played lacrosse. I played all three. And I'm just sitting there like, I couldn't sit still. So like when I had a time off, I just picked up another sport. So, every year I was just like, all right, like to not use the same body parts to get some translation from other sports, I would, play because there's different movements that carry over, like the mindset and the toughness transfers over from football and lacrosse and things of that nature. So like there was never a thought to specialize in the one thing, because, a lot of college recruiters and college coaches, they want, real diverse athletes. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? To be able to, it shows their ability to change and adapt to new things in that nature. So going into freshman year, I was just basically like, I'm going with the wind, like whatever. I'm just gonna play and then see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's great. Your take is interesting on that, Dante, because I'm kind of going through that now with my son, right? I mean, he does it all, but nowadays, like these sports are year round, so it's hard to, even football now, right? They got the off-season workouts, you got off-season 7-on-7, but like it's hoop time now. Like all he wants to do is watch college hoops, watch the NBA, and play basketball, but he's getting pulled into different directions. So your take on that is interesting because, like for me, I picked up a football in August and I dropped it in December. I picked up a basketball in December. I dropped it in March. Picked up a baseball. I didn't play lacrosse because it just wasn't around for me back then. I wasn't exposed to it, but picked up a baseball in April and dropped it, in May and June. And then I went to the beach for a couple months before football season. But now, like you have an interesting take. Like it's not like that anymore,
They kind of like, I would say that's the bad part of it because like now you got all these travel teams for all these sports. They're like, oh, we need your commitment from this time period to this period. It's like,
yeah.
oh, because then you got kids like overworking themselves. Like I overwork myself, and that's one of the things I want to tell my story about. Is like, okay, so you have summer lacrosse, then you got fall football, but then you got fall lacrosse too. So
Right.
I was like doing both on the weekends and stuff like that, and traveling over the bridge and playing, and you kind of wear out. And then you got the winter sessions of certain indoor lacrosses and stuff like that. But you have basketball. So I was doing that. And it's just like that. It becomes like you got to talk to your parents about these things because it's like if you want to do it, but it's more a push from these travel teams and these coaches that only care about their success. They don't really care about these kids. I try to point out is like, look, man, go have fun, go change sports, go do everything other things. Don't be trying to like multitask because you're just going to run down. And I've seen kids lose love for the games that they play, whatever sport, just because like they're doing it all year round.
No doubt.
To keep that fire, to keep that competitiveness, put the ball down, put the stick down, put the baseball bat down, and go change another sport.
Yeah.
Like it was unheard of for guys to be doing both when I was coming up as a freshman. Like you said, like we put the football down as soon as the hoops comes. Like it's time. Then come in the spring, baseball bat, track, like all that stuff. So specializing just became not new, but it's more push from these coaches.
Yeah, no doubt. And talk about love for the game. What did you love? Like, I mean, you played both, right, in college, but like in high school, what did you love? Or was it just depending on the season, right? Did you get hyped for football? Or were you like, man, I'm just doing this to stay in shape for lacrosse?
All right, so you probably felt this feeling. So at the end of every season, you want the other sport so bad because you're just so drained and so you're just like, man, like every time it was the end of football season, all right, man, when is basketball? In the basketball wins lacrosse because I'm like, you get tired of it, regardless of you win it or not. You just like, but now like, but it like that's how I felt about it. But
Right.
obviously you got hype at the end of each season, so that's
No
what
doubt.
kept it all fresh. That's what made me want to keep doing it. So imagine you playing lacrosse or football for a whole year. You're just gonna burn out and not love the game anymore.
No
So
doubt.
I love of the game. I switch sports.
No doubt. And we also have the academic piece, right? Because you're playing sports year round. You know, it's funny, people who don't play a sport don't understand what it's like to have to go to class all day, have to do homework. Maybe you go to a study hall and then you got practice and then you got to come home and then you got to do more homework. How important is it for these guys to stay on top of the academics? I mean, you see it even when you get to college, it's not, you know, people think that once you get to college, man, it's all about sports. There's no it's still tough, man. You got to still turn in papers. You still got to study. You still got to turn in your grades, and you still got to keep your grades up. Like, how important is that even in the high school ranks to keep those grades up, right?
Think about it from this angle first. Like, I like to pull myself out of things when you look at like grades in school. The qualities and habits you build from keeping your grades up and putting the necessary attention in places you don't really want to, because you're like, hey, I just want to play ball, I just want to do this. But school is doing that schoolwork and going to the extra, it pays dividends when you get to college. It pays dividends when you're out about in the other world, because you gain the discipline, you gain the time management skills of, hey, I only got a 2-hour window to do this homework. I can't play video games here knowing I got to turn this in, my grades would dip. Because guess what? You get to your senior year, they're looking at this kid. What's your GPA?
Yeah.
If you had used those time and built up time management skills to deviate time to your schoolwork, these college coaches wouldn't have a problem with recruiting you and putting you on a team. Like, it all goes hand in hand.
Yes.
Because I developed my time management skills and it helped me tremendously in college because you don't have time.
Yes.
Like, you got 6 a.m. workouts, you got class you got to go to, you're going to come back to practice. You don't get out of practice till 5. Now you got to balance social life, video games, your other significant others, your family, and homework.
Yes.
So if you don't divvy up the time, ineligible.
Yes.
Looking out on the bench. So it all carries over. So like when I was in high school, my mom stayed on me and she knew like that was my ticket to go to college. Like, I seen too many of my close friends or too many of my older guys I used to look up to at smaller schools or not in schools at all because of their grades. The first thing they'll tell me is like, man, they said I could play all the tangibles I got, but they can't get me into the school.
Yes.
And that's one of the harms I don't want to see happen to kids.
Yeah. And it's amazing how important that is. Even now, dealing with a lot of these college recruiters, first thing they ask is, how's his grades? Right. And I'll never forget when I was getting recruited, we're talking 1998, times are a little bit different, but Duke came into DeMatha. And I remember Duke walking into the facility and asking Bill McGregor, like, I want to see Scott pull me out of class. First thing he asked was, how are your grades? Now, for me, at a 3.0, it was solid, but it wasn't the best. And I remember being like, my grades are great. They're good, right? Well, they went back and looked at the transcript, and a 3.0 wasn't good enough for Duke at the time. They walked right out of the office. And me thinking to myself, like, damn, like 3.0 is not good enough. Like, if I had a 3.5 or above or 3.2 or whatever they were looking for, like, they would have had a serious conversation with me and they walked away. Now, times are different. Duke maybe recruits a little bit differently nowadays, but it's amazing how when I'm talking to coaches now, the first thing they talk about are grades. And if you do not have the grades, they'll walk straight out of the office. They don't care how good you are. And that's fact. That's true. JB, I know you see that too.
Yeah, it's scary, man. It's definitely scary. Like, and I got so many stories of just great talent, just missing out on opportunities because of their grades. And
100%.
And it's like, how you do anything is how you do everything, is a perspective I see from our coaches. It's like, okay, if you're skipping class and not doing the work, so what are you going to do when it's about football and, you know, and I can't see you?
Yeah.
And now you're more accountable to being on your own. It's like, are you going to do the extra work here? Are you going to, you know, are you dependable? Dependability, coaches look at dependability from all aspects of your life.
100%.
You can't get right off the field. They're not going to want to put you on the field because you're going to mess up plays. Or you're not going to perform when I need you to perform. It all goes hand in hand, and kids don't I don't blame kids for not understanding this because they're not in that light. They're not.
Right.
That's why you have people tell you this stuff. It's like literally, I have some teammates who are great, could start, but it's not dependable off the field. So the coach doesn't want to put them on the field. I see it all the time. You see it all across the country. Why is this 4-star kid not playing?
Yeah.
It ain't because of talent. So kids just gotta, be honest and fix their stuff that goes on outside of the field or respective sport they play.
Yeah, I always say the academics in your internal life, that carries over to the field, right? If you don't have it cleaned up internally, right, it's going to carry over to the field. You're not going to play. Let's go back to your playing days in high school. Talk about the recruiting process for you. When did it become real where you had coaches coming at you left and right for both sports, or did you? Or were they only coming after you for football? I mean, for lacrosse. But when did it become real in your high school career? Was it freshman, sophomore year where you were like, man, I'm going to go to the next level. Let's figure this thing out?
Okay, so being from Delaware is kind of like being in the shadows in terms of recruitment because a lot of recruiters, a lot of schools don't come down there. Let's just be honest. It's changed over the years. You got 1 or 2 Delaware kids a year. So, and I knew that. So for football, literally my 9th and 10th grade year, I was just getting camp invites and, those brochures for camps and stuff like that with All-State, running the state championship for football. I remember transferring to McDonough School, had the same stat line, led the league in picks, everything like that. Just changed the scenery against better competition offers like that. You know what I'm saying? That was the first time football-wise that I was like, maybe I can do this because I went to McDonough really for lacrosse because I was a highly touted recruit. So I was like, I'm just going to play football on the backside, like whatever. Like I didn't, get it was late. Junior year is kind of late for offers, like the end of offers. So I was kind of like the late bloomer came on the scene. But really for lacrosse, it was the biggest, focal point. I remember my 9th grade year, we had a play day. It was the end of the 8th going into the 9th. We had a play day at the University of Maryland. We played like 3 teams here. And this is when college coaches could still offer you before your junior year. I had a play day in front of Coach Tillman here, and I killed it. So I had an unofficial visit with one of their star players and him. They were talking. And I knew I was like, maybe I got a shot. But then they had a recruiting rule, so I had to wait till junior year. But once then, I already knew I had the talent to be able, because every game there was 50 D1 scouts on the lacrosse field. So
yeah,
junior year was the biggest catalyst of both showing hand in hand that I possibly could play both.
It's funny. I remember watching a video of you a while back, and Tillman was talking about how he was recruiting you, and he knew that you were a standout kid because of the socks you used to wear, the Maryland flag socks on the lacrosse field. Were you a Maryland? Did you grow up a Maryland fan? Was Maryland a school where you were like, man, that's it for me? Like, I don't want to go anywhere else? Or was it kind of like you fell into College Park, you fell into Maryland, you're like, I'll make this my home, no big deal? Or were you like, man, I want to be a Terp?
Yeah, it was Terp from day one. I was a big fan of everything. I had Maryland, everything. I watched the basketball, football games, everything, lacrosse games, like rock those socks. Honestly, it wasn't just like, hey, look at me. It was, I love those socks. Like I have numerous pictures when even I was younger of those socks, had different versions of the Maryland flag socks. I still have one pair back at home. I don't let nobody touch them. That was like one of the C's I played in my life. But I can just remember in high school when you have those, we had just like career class and you had to go look for schools. He would like make you like pick 4 or 5 schools you could possibly go and research and possible majors. I picked one. He couldn't stand it. It was University of Maryland. I was looking at all the majors and stuff because I just knew. I was like, this is where I'm going. And like,
that's so funny.
Yeah, it started from Maryland.
You sound like my son. Actually, I'm going to show you something right here. I got these cleats that Ronnie O gave me back in the day. I don't even know why he gave these to me, but they were like for a workout. These are Under Armour cleats, right? Nothing but the Maryland flag on here with the Under Armour logo. But my son walks into my office every day and he goes, Dad, I can't wait till my feet are a size 10 and a half so that I can wear these shoes. I'm like, well, hey, look, when you get to be a 10 and a half, these shoes are all yours. So he, every day, he's like measuring his foot. He's like, man, not yet. But this reminds me of those socks that you were wearing.
Yeah.
So now talk to me about, right, like your commitment journey, right? Like nowadays offers they're like letters, right? And I don't know how they were back in your day, but for me, when I got a letter, like it was, hey, we're interested in you, we're recruiting you. Now offers are kind of that way, right? Talk to me about your offer process and how that came through.
So again, I was a late bloomer for football. So my junior year, I had played well as mid-season, had coaches coming through because we had a bunch of D1 prospects on our team. We had 2 5-star, a couple 4-star guys. So coaches were already watching our tape. So I was kind of like, who's that? You know what I'm saying? And I was getting that slow build-ups. I was getting the DMs on Twitter. I was getting the, hey, we like you, we like your film. We know you, like everything like that. I was already committed for lacrosse at the time. I'll tell that after this. But they were just main thing. They were just like, all right, decommit and then we'll proceed and things like that. But I had got Boston College, Maryland, Liberty, Syracuse. Those were like my main football offers, but I had a lot of attention from bigger schools that were just like, all right, we know you're committed for this sport, decommit, and we'll show you that you're ready to, be a part of our family type thing. But it was slow. It was slow throughout my college career, and then it just hit, boom, like it was on it. Like you never know. I lost hope years ago because I was like, I don't really think it's for me. Like I know I don't. But you never know. You just keep playing every game, keep putting good stuff on tape and having the resources to put your film out there. And then it switched like on a drop of a dime. Now I'm on a phone with Coach Loxley talking about playing 2 sports in a matter of months. You know what I'm saying? Of being at this school. So
that's crazy.
This process is different for everybody. Like you can't recreate. You can't. I get kids that hit me up all the time about what to do and what not to do. And I'm just like, you got to put yourself out there and put good film out there. But also you can't do it without guys like you, teachers like him. So it's like you got to have these necessary people in your life to be able to push you to where you need to go, put your film in a light that people can see, because you can't do it all by yourself. Yeah, you can go to these camps and they don't even look at your number. Like, but if you have guys that are willing to go to bat for you, it's like, hey, I got this kid. He's this measurable, has this, and that, third. Now you're in the door. Like I pushed over some guys' film to my coaches. It's just about, who you know too in this thing.
No doubt.
Like, don't get too caught up in the hype and the wave and the stars and things like that. I was a 3-star.
No doubt.
Guys that Ty Felton at Maryland, 3-star. Ruben Hippolyte, 3-star. Billy Edwards, 3-star. Like, we were not highly rated recruits, but our career ended up panning out to what it needs to be.
100%.
But for lacrosse, it's a little different. Like, I had every offer you could like name. Like the day of the opening, I think it was like September 1st, my phone was just blinging. Like I got to experience both worlds of having a dry phone and then so it was just, that process is, they sell you good, but you just got to go with the people that care about you, got your best interests, and who's going to develop you as a man at each school. So it's all about feeling and everything like that.
Yeah. So go back to if you could rewind it, right, and give yourself some advice, like all that you've been through from 8th grade year all the way till now. You're about to, graduate, go to the Senior Bowl, right? You've had a great career at Maryland. Give yourself one piece of advice where if you could get into your ear, call it 8 years ago, right? What would you be telling yourself?
That's a tough one. You're trying to stump me on that. You talking about in terms of like the process or just everything? Like if I'm like a young.
Just everything, right? To get to you where you are right now, right? If you had one piece of advice to go back to a young you and say, you know what? If you do anything over these next 8 years, make sure you do this, right? What would that be? I know that's a tough question, but give me something. Mainly for these guys on this call, right? We got some guys entering their freshman year, and we got some guys that are entering their in high school, by the way. And we got some guys that are entering their senior year in high school, right? Who've already been through a couple of years in high school, but rewind it, go all the way back. Give me something that you would tell yourself to help you get through these next 8 years.
Yep. So I would say the advice I would give you would be on the mental side of it, right? Everything physical, people got it. There's recipes and ways to do it, to everything physical. You can lift, you can do this and X, Y, Z, your technique on this, the way you throw your ball, paint, all that is physical, right? But where I lost myself in all this was my mental side of the game, which a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
I ran myself to the ground. I did. Like I said about playing the 2 sports and 3 sports, I was just going. And when your body wears down, your mind wears down, they all go hand in hand. And, you kind of lose love for the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's the worst feeling, as you would know, to lose love for the game or love for anything. And when you in that point, there's no going back. So your motivation drips, like your why. You start losing your why, and you going through the motions of things like that. Like I should enjoy being a high school kid. I should enjoy being, an early college kid. Like I tell my guys now, I said, bro, like I was skipping out, hanging out with the boys, going to eat, whatever we do to work out, watch film, just not do anything. And now I'm in my senior year trying to catch up and have, fun with my boys before we leave. And I got a month left. Yeah. Like that's my biggest regret. Like I was so too serious. Like I took everything too serious. Like you can't go back. You can't get time back.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? You can prioritize some things. If I had prioritized things in a manner where it wasn't as extreme, like I would go to the facility at 6 and not leave till 6. Then I didn't leave myself time or energy to do anything else. Who needs to watch 5 hours of film a day?
Yeah.
Or get 3 workouts in a day? Like that's just not, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a little extreme. That's just not like efficient. Be efficient with your time so you can be able to have those times with your family, your friends, like connecting and having fun. So, every time I get stressed out, my coach is like, bro, go find some water, go fish, go hunt, go do that. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny you say that because everybody that I ask that question to, you know what they all come back to? Enjoy the process, right? Embrace it all, enjoy it. It flies by, and just understand that, like, one, it ain't that serious, but two, understand that like life is going to be 15,000 times harder than this, right? When you're out of school. So enjoy the process, go through it, embrace it all, and just have a good time. And it's funny that everybody comes back to that. So it's similar to same lines that you're saying it right now. So I appreciate that. JB, we got one more question, man. I know you've been sitting there listening this whole time. On the academic side or anything else, you want to ask Dante anything for your guys?
One of the things that a lot of young folks struggle with, but I think would be great to hear from you, just about that time management, just balancing school and, trying to be great. And I love what you said about, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And, but a lot of times that misses a lot of young people, but that time management and how you handled the academic piece with all that you were doing outside of academics.
I mean, yeah, like time management is a thing a lot of kids struggle with in all phases. Like I got senior friends that struggle with time management. I got freshmen, young freshman pups, little saplings struggle with time management. Like there's no time when to learn it, but to only realize how you realize you can't manage time is not able to, you know what I'm saying? How you even get that quality is not being able to manage your time, literally. So you got to go through that period of time. It's like, okay, I got a paper due at 11:59. I got to get out of class at this time, but I have to meet early with these classes and get this paper done by this time. So when in that time when I'm be able to do all these things, then you get stressed out and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Like that that anxiety does not feel good. So, I've been there in my freshman year. It's like, all right, like if your days get busy on Monday through Friday, do all your work on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Take some time on Sundays to do it then. If you can do stuff ahead of time, do it then. Yep. If you got an extra hour or a study hall break or this, that, and the third, slowly divvy up things you can do, because in the back end of your week, you're like, hey, I already turned that in. Now I can play the game. Now I can do what I want. You ain't worried about doing something because you already took time out of it and do it and spread it out and don't procrastinate.
Yeah.
And just, again, like time management will forever run your life. Like when you get out of college, you have kids, like you got to figure out how to divvy up time to do certain things you need to do to have a productive day or a successful life.
Yeah. Yeah. And one other one for you too. Because I didn't learn this until I got to college about how important it was to meet with your teachers and go to office hours and do some of those deals that actually help you on the in class stuff. When did you figure that part out, and then how important was it once you figured it out, and how helpful was it to you when you were proactive and meeting with your teachers and doing some of the out of classroom things?
I learned it in high school. The biggest, it's funny. I had so much development from my 10th grade to my 11th grade year just by changing schools. Okay. So I was in a public school in Delaware. It was like one of the top public schools in Delaware. But then I transferred to one of the top private schools in the area in Maryland, to McDonough School, which ramped up everything ×2, right? So they do screens and tests, and they're like, all right, like you struggle in this area, you struggle in this area. And now all my teachers are connected. I'm not used to that. They're texting me, not used to that. Like, can you come in and get work with your our writing center and me, my English teacher and my history teacher to help me get to where I need to go. Like, again, I had some great teachers that were like, okay, I see this kid is, you know, struggling in this area. I'm going to help him and spend some time there. And it's just like, you know, I took off after that. Like, once I realized, I said, okay, like if I just go put in the effort, it's easy. I really can't do it by myself if I know I'm struggling. If I have the resources like you or him that have experience in something, why wouldn't I go use that resource and get better at it?
Yeah.
And then I get into college. I was good with computers. I'm in comp sci, and I was struggling, but I didn't have the time because the office hours were in time of practice. So I was like, all right, like I had to email the teacher. I was like, I don't want to fail this class. Like I got to get somehow to get office hours to, you know, alleviate and teach me. Once I went to office hours, I realized I was overcomplicating everything, and I ended up, you know, projecting myself in the class easily. Just that little small dip, you don't even think about it. Like people think, I can just get by and scratch by myself, but you take a lot of stress off yourself by going to get the extra help, going to the writing center, go get tutoring. People see it as a negative thing, like, oh, like you're not as smart. You know, okay, you getting mad at me because I'm not good in some areas. That's all life is progressing and advancing.
Yeah.
How are you falling? How are you gonna talk about me? Because, and that's that pressure that young kids have to go through now. Like you didn't get this on that. Like I was one of those kids, and now I'm graduating with a 3.5 in college.
Yeah. JB, well said, Dante. JB, I always tell Hayes, effort and attitude. That's all I care about. Effort and attitude in the classroom, on the field. You know, on the field, I don't care if you make a mistake, make it full speed. Give me effort and give me a good attitude. Same thing in the classroom. Give me positive attitude, and we'll get there. So yeah, that's well said. Dante, we'll let you run, man. Look, I want to say that I've watched you over the years, and I respect everything that you've done on and off the field. You've been a hell of a Terp, man, and we've built a great relationship over the last few years. It's been a pleasure to watch you play. And, you know, good luck with everything moving forward. And just know that, like, we are here. I'm here for you, either now or down the road, whenever you need it. I want to be here to support you. So you should be proud of everything that you've accomplished, my man, because it ain't easy. It ain't easy. What you accomplished is not easy. And only the top % in this world do what you were able to do. So kudos to you, and you should be proud. So congratulations, my man.
Appreciate you, my guy. And let me leave you with a quote. You know, I like to leave some gems that help me like project myself. And, you know, I kind of made this up over the years. If your actions don't meet the needs of your dreams, you will not be successful. And, you know, I tell that to all the kids that I talk to and mentor. And it's like, so what does that mean? So whatever dream you have and you set that dream, if you know there's little things and that go into plan about that dream, you have to be able to do that, or you will not be successful. You won't be get that close. Like if I set out, hey, I want to go to the NFL, what does that look like? Okay, grades. I'm gonna get my grades up to be able to go to college. I gotta have the work ethic to separate myself. I gotta have the resources and the coaches to push me there because I can't do it by myself. And then I gotta have the mental fortitude and the resiliency to withstand the negatives and the positives to be able to get me there. And once you set out all those little factors and you're putting in the extra work in all those factors, you'll get as close as possible to that dream. But if you don't get there, you already have the habits and the qualities to be a successful person in anything you do.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I love that. I love that. I'm so glad we got that on film, JB, on tape, because the kids, when they watch this, this is a heck of an interview. And I appreciate you coming on, Dante, because these guys look up to you, as do I, and we're rooting for you hard, man. So
my guy.
Let's go, man.